Let's get to know some of the top running back prospects for the upcoming NFL draft. Next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Welcome to FFT in 5. I'm Chris Towers. I'm here with Emory Hunt. And we're going to talk about some of the top running back prospects for the upcoming NFL draft. Remember, the NFL draft taking place at the end of April. So over the next 5 or 6 weeks, we'll continue to be profiling some of the top guys that you need to know and some of the sleepers who, every year there's some late round guys who pop. And Emory, I want to start. Bijan Robinson has been the consensus top guy at the running back position for pretty much as long as you want to talk about the 2023 NFL draft, at least the last 2 years. He's going to be presumably a first-round pick in the NFL draft and possibly a first-round pick for fantasy drafts if he lands in the right spot. I guess the question for me is, will his skill set translate for fantasy in particular, where we want, goal line backs and pass-catching backs, but also are there any, potential shortcomings for Bijan Robinson that could end up leading to him being a disappointment for fantasy?
And that's a great way to phrase it, Chris. I think he is all systems go in terms of what you're expecting from a fantasy perspective for a couple of reasons. One, he's going to get drafted in the first round, which means he's going to get the football. Two, he's a great receiver downfield in the passing game, so he doesn't have to leave the field. Three, he's a really good game breaker, so he can break runs from a distance. So you kind of want to keep giving him the football. And also, he's 215 pounds, probably up to 220 by the time training camp starts. So you don't have to worry about taking him off the field in short yardage goal line situations. So all three of those boxes are checked for him. So for me, he's someone that can translate easily to the NFL.
Yeah, it's that downfield passing game especially that makes him so potentially exciting, because you look at someone like Austin Eckler. Obviously, he's great, as a safety valve for his offense, but he's also been used as a playmaker in the passing game. You split out wide, run routes down the field, and you can get a lot of upside as a pass catcher in that usage as well. So that's what really excites me about him. Who's the best pass catcher among the RB prospects for the upcoming draft?
I would probably have to go with Jamir Gibbs out of Alabama, because he's someone that legitimately can be a slot receiver if you wanted him to be one, because he's so fantastic in tracking the football, catching over his shoulder. And once he has it in his hands, it's all systems go for him, because he's a game breaker. He's my number 1 rated running back in this class. I have him graded higher than Bijan Robinson, who's number 2. But, man, when we talk about receiver and receiving threat and the threat of someone like Gibbs on the football field, gives you just everything that you want for an offense.
Yeah, 5th most targets among running backs over the past 3 seasons in college football. That's a very good sign. That route out of the backfield is just impossible to cover if you have someone who's got speed and get a step on him. So that's a very. Do you think he's a first round guy? Do you think that's what he gets drafted, or do you think we're more like a early third, like late 30 kind of?
It's tough, man, because of lineman. The quarterback position will push some guys down. I could see him being that Dalvin Cook or that Maurice Jones-Drew, going right at the top of the second round. So technically, he's a first round pick, but you know how it goes. Like, he's going to get picked in the second. I can see it both ways. So let's say he'll be gone by pick 35.
What's really interesting, though, is you look at the end of the first round, and 26, you've got the Cowboys. They're a real dark horse, I think, to take a running back after releasing Ezekiel Elliott. Buffalo, they've been linked to a lot of running backs. They tried to trade for Christian McCaffrey last year. Cincinnati, they have Joe Mixon, obviously, but there's been talk of him being a cap casualty. The Saints with Alvin Kamara's off-field issues. Philadelphia just lost Miles Sanders. The Chiefs probably aren't going to go back to the well at running back after doing with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but there are a handful of really interesting potential landing spots at the end of the first round. And then obviously round 2, Pittsburgh, Houston, Arizona, Indianapolis, maybe not as obvious of landing spots, but maybe we'll see some teams, trade back out of the top of the first round or trade up. And, going down a little bit further, just give me a day 3 sleeper who could land in the right spot and end up making an impact, the same way that, oh man, I'm completely blanking on the Houston Texans running back from last year.
Oh, yeah, Dameon Pierce.
Dameon Pierce, the way he ended up, really surprising in training camp, emerging Dameon Pierce as the lead running back there.
Xavier Valade from Arizona State. Bigger back, 5'11", 205 pounds, 210 pounds. I was shocked he wasn't at the combine. There's somebody that ran for over 1,000 yards at Arizona State, and they was terrible this year. So they knew they were running the football, and they still couldn't stop him. He transferred in from Wyoming, and I think he's someone that could be this year's Dameon Pierce because he runs well behind his pads. He's got good vision, good footwork, had a great week of work at the East-West Shrine Bowl. He is someone that I think could be that starting tailback coming from day 3. As some of the other spot guys that can have some fantasy value, Keaton Mitchell of East Carolina, explosive speed is ridiculous. You also keep an eye out for Jarek Broussard out of Michigan State. People forget he was dynamic at Colorado, got injured, transferred to Michigan State, kind of, was working his way back from that injury, but still was putting together some really good spotlight plays for the Spartans. He's another one that I think can go on day 3 and find himself on the NFL roster because he's so dynamic with the football in his hands.
All right, that's going to do it for FFT5 today. Make sure you check out footballgameplan.com for Emory's full 2023 draft guide. It's going to be out in the next couple of weeks. There's going to be a lot of great stuff in there. And Emory will have you back next week, maybe talk some of the wide receivers for the 2023 NFL draft class. We'll see you guys then.